How's it going, guys? This is going to be a quick video covering my top 5 designer date fragrances. Now, the reason why I'm not going to do niche is because the people that follow me don't really see themselves paying $300 or $400 on a fragrance, which is totally understandable, especially if you're on a budget, you're in college, or in high school, whatever. You just want to smell good. You want to get noticed by women, and this list is going to do it for you. Now, before I get into the actual list itself, I want to go over the actual functions of a date fragrance. A date fragrance has three main functions, right? And it's one, it doesn't need to project. You don't need to project 3 or 5 or 6 feet. Mainly, you want to have a decent scent bubble. That means only you and the woman that you're with can smell it. Why? Because you're in an intimate setting. You don't want a fragrance like Aventus, which is going to project way across the room and someone can smell you. Right? It's just unnecessary for a date environment. So you want it to only project 3 or 4 feet. Number two, it shouldn't be that daring, right? This is when you want a designer fragrance because it's going to be universally accepted as smelling good. The reason why you want a daring fragrance is because you don't want to make a wrong impression, right? You don't want to have a fragrance that is going to offend anyone, especially the girl that you're with. If she doesn't like the way you smell, then it's really going to be an issue, right? So these fragrances that I have on this list are going to be good for that initial hug. When you hug her, when you see her, you walk up to her, you hug her, you're going to get that compliment like, "Oh, you smell good," and it's going to be this. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the date. So you don't want a really daring fragrance that's going to have a lot of notes. It's going to be really off-putting. Save those for the club or when you're going out. You want to be noticed. It's not for the date. And number three, it needs to have average longevity. That means 5 or 6 hours, right? Because you're not going to be on a date for that long until you move her to another place, maybe like your house or something. So you just want the fragrance to last as long as the date does, which is maybe 2, 3, 4 hours, depending how good your game is. So those are the three functions that a date fragrance needs to have. With that said, let's start off. This is going to be an honorable mention from the House of Dolce & Gabbana, and this is going to be the one. Now, what you get from this fragrance, you get like a real fruity, boozy type of smell, and women absolutely love it. Doesn't project, it doesn't have the best longevity, but as I said before, from a date fragrance, you really don't need that, right? Because you're gonna be 2 or 3 feet away from your date at all times anyway. So this is a great fragrance, and it's cheap. You can get it for like $50. That's gonna be Dolce & Gabbana, the one. Now, if you want to be really out there, you can always try the EDP version that just came out in 2015. I haven't really put my nose on it, so I can't tell you how the performance is, but I'm hearing good things. So anyway, moving on. This is an honorable mention. Dolce & Gabbana, the one. Such a great name for fragrances too. The one. Like, it's just awesome. Now, number 5, coming from the house of Carolina Herrera. That's going to be CH Men. Now, CH Men, I've had this bottle for about a couple of months now, and like when I first put my nose on it, I was like, it smells good, but I couldn't understand why it didn't last on my skin. It's a really sweet fragrance, and you get a nice leather note underneath the sweetness. Really great. It smells awesome. Women love it, but on my skin, it just didn't last. I was like, why doesn't this last? So I went on Base Notes, and I looked at some older threads, and they're like, you know what? You need to get the older bottle. I was like, why would you need to get the older bottle of a fragrance that came out in 2009? They're like, well, you get better projection, you get better strength from the older batches. And I was like, well, let's try it out. So what I did is I went out and I actually bought another bottle, right? And this is going to be the older bottle. This is going to be the newer bottle. And straight away, I can tell you that there is a difference. Mainly in the dry down and the actual longevity of the fragrance. And you can always tell which batch you're going to get because the boxes. This is going to be the newer batch, right on the right, and this is going to be the older one on the left. I don't know if you guys can actually see that, but this is what it looks like. Yeah, we'll fix that. That's going to be the older batch, right? That's going to be their newer one. Now, straight away, the older batch has authentic leather, right? This is actually real leather on the fragrance. The newer batch is, how can I say, it's cheap. Like, it's a pleather, just absolutely terrible presentation on the bottle itself, right? You can totally tell the difference in both the smell and the presentation. So if you can actually find an older formulation of CH Men, I would highly do it because it actually smells a lot better than what it is on the market right now. Now there's a new 2015 batch that people are saying that there's actually no color to the juice. I haven't tried that yet, and I heard that it changed the presentation again. I don't know that for certain, but if you can find your hands on an older batch, I would definitely check that out. CH Men by Carolina Herrera coming at number 5. Coming in number 4 from the house of Terry Mugler, and that's going to be Pure Malt. Now, Pure Malt is a flanker of, let me grab that, of the original Amen. I'll tell you right now, I wasn't a fan of the original Amen. Amen to me was just a really, it was just a really harsh fragrance. Like, it was really like tough on my nose. And I'll say that the dry down was good because it had that gourmandish caramel, chocolatey vibe. But the opening itself, because of that tar note, was just really off-putting, right? It was really daring. But Pure Malt takes the original Amen DNA and it just puts that real authentic whiskey note on top. And I'll tell you guys right away, man, women absolutely, they love Pure Malt. They don't like Amen, they like Pure Malt. Pure Malt gets compliments like nobody's business. Now, on my skin, it doesn't last very long. It doesn't have that great projection, but as I said, it doesn't need to as a date fragrance. I get excellent compliments with this. I've been wearing this about the last 2 days. I've been going out. I've been getting so much attention. So that's going to be Pure Malt by the house of Terry Mugler coming at number 4. Try it out. Great date fragrance. Very romantic. Very affordable too. It's only about $97 retail. So coming in at number 3 is going to be by the house of Chanel, and that's going to be Allure Sport Eau Extreme. Now, Eau Extreme is a flanker of the original Allure Sport. And the difference between the two is that you get a little bit of peppermint and cherry in the Eau Extreme. Still a great fragrance. But I tend to gravitate toward the original just because I feel that the Eau Extreme is not, it doesn't smell as well as the original, but on a date, I'm telling you guys right away, Allure Sport Eau Extreme gets noticed. Women love it. When I hug a girl wearing Eau Extreme, automatic compliment. She says, "You smell awesome." I always get it. Now I get compliments with Allure Sport, the original version, but on a date setting, the Eau Extreme is what you want, man. It is just to die for. A really great flanker of the original. It pretty much earned a spot in this list. So that's coming at number 3, Allure Sport by Chanel. Coming in at number 2 is my favorite fragrance of all time. I guess you guys know what that is already, but I've always talked about it. And that's going to be DHI, Dior Homme Intense, for the people that don't know. Now, this is going to be the reformulation, because you can tell by the black atomizer. And this right here is going to be the vintage, the actual from 2007 to 2010-ish, I want to say. Now, you can tell straight away because there's a difference between the juice color. Now, this is a little bit paler, and this one's a little bit darker. I'll say this. Let me fix that for you guys so you can see. I'll say this. The original isn't for everyone. It's real. You get a real lipstick iris type of note in the beginning, and it can be off-putting to some people. But on a date, the original formulation does wonders, man. I can't even begin to explain the compliments that I've received from women with this fragrance. It is just awesome. Now, comparing the two, I'll say this. The newer formulation is a little bit more masculine, right? Because they toned down that iris note. They added the note of pear, right? It's not as feminine as the original. Some people like that. Some people actually prefer the reformulation over the original. I'm not one of those people because my type of style is a little bit more metrosexual, so I can pull off a really feminine fragrance. But the new formulation really, right? It covers a lot of crowd, right? What I mean by that is that it's going to be pleasing to a lot more people. But again, in my experience, I like the original formulation. And Dior has always created really, really excellent fragrances. Now, I've actually been experimenting with a newer one from the house, and that's going to be Dior Sauvage. Now, Sauvage, let me tone this down real quick so you guys can see. Now, Sauvage, on the other hand, great, great fragrance. It's not the most unique, because that's the criticism that people get from this, that people have on this, is that it's generic, it smells like everything else. And to be honest, that you on a date, when you go on a date with a woman, you don't want to confuse her with your fragrance. So a fragrance like this, Sauvage, or Bleu de Chanel, and they kind of smell the same. That's why I'm putting them in the same, I'm actually mentioning it. These type of fragrances have the ability to please a lot more people, right? I've been wearing Sauvage for a couple of weeks now, and I can tell you that when I make that new most complimented list, it's gonna be up there, man, because I've been getting a lot of attention from it. Women love it. I've been using this on dates. I'm telling you right now, women love Sauvage. Women love Dior Homme Intense. That's why they're going to tie for number 2. But again, you want to try these fragrances out, you can go. I don't know if you can actually buy Dior Homme Intense in the stores, but I know that Sauvage is going to be available almost everywhere. Go put your nose on it. Tell me what you guys think. Email me your questions. And just tell me what you guys think of these two fragrances, right? I'm telling you that they get results, so that's all we're going to do about that. But for number 1, and this fragrance is just a pure monster. Oh, yep. And that's going to be the Baby from Yves Saint Laurent, La Nuit de l'Homme. Now, we're going to have a real in-depth look at La Nuit de l'Homme. It's going to maybe take 5 minutes, but this is going to be the new 2015 Juice. Now the criticism that La Nuit de l'Homme's been getting is that it's been reformulated to death, right? That this juice doesn't smell like the older juice. So what we're going to do is, this is going to be the original formulation from 2009. This is going to be a formulation from 2011. And this big one is going to be a formulation from 2010. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a real big bottle. It's going to be a 200 ml. Now, to be honest, the newer formulation, you can actually see it too. I don't know if you guys can pick this up in the video, but look how light that juice is compared to this. You can see it straight away. Even on the 2010 batch, you guys can see almost a clear difference between all three. Right, this is going to be a little bit yellower because the light's passing through, but you guys can see how there's a difference in color. The 2015 batch, you can tell that it's the same fragrance, but the projection, the longevity, is just not there. I'm just going to be completely honest. Now, comparing the original formulation to maybe something from 2000 and I think this is from 2011. The juice color, not that different, right? And it smells about 90% the same. And you can tell by the caps too. When you look at the caps, this is going to be an older formulation. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the cap is actually hollow. And this one's going to be a little bit closed. I don't know if you guys can see that too. Now, smell-wise, the original has the edge over all of them because it's going to be the original juice and the original packaging and the original formulation that the perfumer actually intended